how are we going to deal with a violent world? How will we do that? Several years ago in Central Java, there was a major conflict between Christians and Muslims. And so they decided to take a book I had written called A Christian and a Muslim in Dialogue. I wrote it with a Muslim, where he shares his faith with me and I share my faith with him. The peacemakers in that conflict decided to publish this book in the Indonesian language. And then they invited Grace and me, my wife and I, to come to Central Java for the official launching of this book. And so we went to one venue and very nice speeches given and so forth. They said, now we're going to go to the Hezbollah command center, and we're going to also have a launching at the Hezbollah center. I said, that can't be. It's not the Hezbollah center. No, they say, come. God's doing a new thing here in Central Java. And so we went to the Hezbollah center, about, Grace must have been 30 of their militia there with their guns and so forth. And we sit in a circle. And the commander of the Hezbollah said, you need to know our mission is to fight to kill our enemies and to defend Islam. I said, the problem is when you do that, you then have more enemies. Jesus shows another way, forgive your enemy, then you don't have an enemy, which was a rather new idea, I think. And so then we're all sitting in a circle, and the pastor reaches over, and he hands the captain a copy of this dialogue, this Kathariga Schenk dialogue. And the commander starts to page through this thing, and soon he's crying. I go, what's going on? He says, I'm crying because I'm thinking this book is showing another way, where you respectfully discuss with one another your theological differences, but you don't go and hit someone over the head because he disagrees with you. You work in a peacemaking way at our differences. And if we've practiced the spirit of this book, why, all of Indonesia will be transformed. I need 50 copies of the book right now before you leave today to give to all of my commanders. That was amazing. So I then asked the pastor later on, how does that happen, this change of spirit? And, well, he said, these occasional explosions of violence between Christians and Muslims will keep happening in this area of Indonesia. And so Muslim peacemakers and Christian peacemakers met together regularly to try to think about ways that they could move forward in a peacemaking way. Jesus refers to these people as the people of peace, you know. And in this case, on the Muslim side and the Christian side, there are people of peace. What are the steps to take? They advised the pastors that since he was their leader, a step forward would be for him to go and meet with the commander of the militia. And so he walked up the hill to the home of the commander and knocks on his door. And the commander says, who are you? I'm a pastor. He said, I don't want to talk to you. I mean, what are you doing here? He said, well, I was hoping to have a cup of tea with you. You want a cup of tea with me? Why? Well, I'd like to get acquainted. So they drank tea together. The commander of the militia and this pastor. The pastor representing these peacemaking Muslims and Christians who had commissioned him to take this little walk up the hill. So the next week, the pastor returns to the home of the commander. And the commander said, what do you want? He said, I was hoping for another cup of tea today. Oh, another cup of tea? Yeah. For 2 years, every week, that pastor would climb the hill to the home of the commander of the militia, and they would drink tea together. Then the commander and the pastor became such good friends that they decided to take this another step. And how does it become good friends? Drinking tea together. The next step, going to Banda Aceh, where there had been a tsunami some years earlier, which had destroyed schools and hospitals, going together to Banda Aceh with Muslim militia and Christian pastors, going together to Banda Aceh and working for a week or 2 weeks side by side in a reconstruction project. And the commander slept in the same room with the pastor. And one evening, sitting around the campfire, making their evening supper, the commander began to cry. And he said, I'm crying because I'm thinking of what we militia have done to you pastors over the years. It has not been good. I'm just weeping. I'm so sorry about that. Isn't that something? And so the commander of the militia has become an advocate for the churches there in Central Java. And that has brought about a transformation in the whole region. The cycles of violence have largely stopped. Once in a while there's an incident, but then the commander and the pastor gets together and plan how to deal with this incident, you see, getting on top of it. Now, as I see it, that is a lively example of a contemporary commitment, a commitment today for peace building between Muslims and Christians. And God has prospered it very much. And it is to say that we are going to follow the journey that took Jesus to the cross, where he forgives. Even as he's crucifying, he forgives. That's amazing, just simply revolutionary. It wasn't long ago that I was invited to Indonesia with other Christian theologians by the Iranian authorities for several days of dialogue on peacemaking. And then they invited me to come and speak to a gathering of a couple thousand Iranian Shiite theologians, also on the way of peace. And in my presentation, I shared this story of Jesus going to Jerusalem and what that means for the peace that the Christian church embraces. And I was very happy when the chairperson of that meeting thanked me for what I shared. And he said, we have much to learn about the way of peace. We must investigate what we have heard about the way Jesus invites. We must learn about that. And I was very happy about that. And I think that's the mission of the church, is to make known in one way or another this amazing good news that Jesus goes to the cross and forgives. That brings about transformation. Now, our world desperately needs the witness that God is most fully revealed in that baby born in a manger, in that man who was crucified and cried out in forgiveness as they put him on that cross, that he is God with us, revealing the peace. That witness is so needed. It brings healing to the nations. Brings healing to the nations. That's our calling. You know.